I remember early in COVID, it was about content. You got to get content out there and get your YouTube channel up and get this. And that was all fine. But as you said, there's content everywhere.
Yeah.
Church was never about content. Church is about relationship.
Hey, Castleview, good to see you again today on the Castleview Baptist Podcast. And I've got a new friend, I guess. We're just kind of getting to know each other today. We've communicated a little bit. But Geoff Surratt is with us. Geoff, thank you so much for being with us today.
You know, Tate, I just am so appreciative you reached out and said, hey, let's connect. And I always love to connect with pastors, but I've been following Castleview Baptist for several years. You didn't know it. I watched as the building went up. I've watched your stream online. I just love what God's doing through you and through the leaders and through Castleview Baptist.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a huge honor to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. Tell our audience, some of them don't know, but you mentioned to me a minute ago, you saw a social media post.
Yeah. So we watched I live in Parker and my kids live in Castle Rock. So we pass the site a lot. Mm-hmm. And so we watched it go up. And then I knew the Sunday you were launching. So I saw a post you put on social media, and you on the parking lot, they had spelled the word stop in huge letters, like 4 foot tall letters.
Major.
They spelled it wrong. I think SOTP.
SOTP.
You put up there and said, you can't make this stuff up.
Yep.
But I showed it to, I'm at Journey Church here in Douglas County.
Yep.
But I showed it to our pastor because we were going through a building at the program at the time. I said, it happens to all.
You can't, it doesn't matter how nice the building is, what you do. And I just thought, it's funny because we had a few issues. We had an elevator issue. We didn't get our temporary permit for occupancy until Friday afternoon, and we have a church service for Easter. Easter Sunday, and a lot of stress, lots going on. And it was almost as if the Lord gave us that to kind of say, it's okay. You know what I mean? This is not going to be perfect. Forget about all of that. Just go ahead and have a good service.
Right. Well, it's a beautiful location. I know that God's just been growing the church and using you guys. And, I don't know about you, Tate, but here in Douglas County, there's a lot of people who don't know Jesus, and we need all the gospel-centered churches we can get.
That's right.
We love what's happening.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Have you heard of Nate Bargatze, the comedian?
Love Nate Bargatze.
Have you heard his bit about Geoff?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone I know has sent me that.
So for our audience, I was going to ask you about that. So he says in that one bit, he says, I think they're coming over to the new land, right? I mean, and we can make up our own rules, and we can spell names with more than one spelling. And he says, Geoff, and they say, well, how will you spell Geoff? And he says, the short way with a J and the stupid way with a G.
Exactly.
Have people giving you a hard time about that?
Oh, I am the stupid way with the G.
Yep.
So I've grown up as Geoff and Geoff. Middle school,
right?
Middle school, I was Goof. That wasn't good. So yes, and I think it's hilarious. So when people ask me how to spell my name, I just say the stupid way.
With the stupid, where does the Geoff spelling come from? I've never known that.
It's the funniest thing. It is an English spelling.
Okay.
So if you've heard of Geoffrey Chaucer, his name is spelled Geo.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was from Western Oklahoma. I have no idea where she came across that spelling. There was no internet. I don't know, but she blessed me with that, so I passed it on and gave it to my son as well.
Did you really?
Yes.
Okay, messed him up too.
Yes.
Some of our listeners would not know what a pre-internet world is. Do you remember, now that we're talking about that, you remember when you needed to get somewhere, there was no GPS?
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
I've thought about it, Tate, and you remember this. GPS has saved a lot of marriages because when you traveled, your wife would have the map open and you would be driving. And this may not have happened to you. It happened many times to me. And my wife would say, oh, you need to turn right back there. And now with GPS, we don't have those intense fellowship anymore.
Those moments. We traveled for 2 years for a college. And that was the day that you had the atlas, you pulled that map out and you had to figure out where you were headed. You had no idea where to go, except you had to figure it out. And then MapQuest came out, and that seemed amazing.
Right.
Before the GPS, right? I mean, it gives you the step-by-step directions.
Yeah, well, and people don't realize when you say MapQuest, you printed the map out from MapQuest, and then you followed the route.
That's right.
Because there was no smartphone.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, you've been in this area for a long time. A matter of fact, how many years have you been in Parker?
So I've been in Parker since 2013, but Tate, I always have to fly this flag. I am a native Coloradan. There's 5 of us, and I'm one of them.
Okay.
I was born here and grew up here, so I'm a Broncos fan from birth.
Okay.
But we moved here to Parker in 2012.
Is that right? 2012. Mm-hmm. Okay. You've seen this whole place change. I mean, we came out in 2008. We started the church in 2008, and no hospital, no In-N-Out burger. You know, I mean, there's a lot of changes in this area. And 45,000 people when we got here. And I think we're approaching 90,000 now in Castle Rock. And I think Parker's right in the same general area. So a lot of growth going on. You've written books. How many books have you written, by the way?
I've written 4 books altogether.
4 books. Okay. So I was introduced to you. I don't know when this book came out, but it was probably 8-9 years ago, I believe, that I read it. And its title caught me right away, 10 Stupidest Things That Churches Do to Keep from Growing. I probably did all of them, probably all 10. Can you give us 1 or 2 of them that you feel like, by the way, why did you feel the need to write that book?
Yeah, well, I can answer that question. Yeah, the other question, I wrote that book 11 years ago.
11 years, okay.
Yeah, so the first church, actually the only church where I was senior pastor, was a little church outside of Houston, Texas. And there were 11 people when I went there. Here's kind of a funny story. In our tradition, they voted whether they wanted you to be their pastor or not. And so they voted, and there were 11 votes. And about 3 months later, the vote was a landslide. I won 9-4, 1 against, 1 abstained. Wow. Lady comes to me 3 months later and says, Pastor Geoff, did you know someone abstained when we voted? I said, I did know that. She said, well, I abstained because I didn't know you well enough to vote. But now that we know you, my husband and I will be leaving the church.
Oh, wow. I thought this was going another direction.
No, so the church grew from 11 to 9.
Yeah, good.
But we were there for 2.5 years, and God did some really cool things. We saw people come to Christ, but it was unbelievably hard on my family, on me, on my marriage. Mm-hmm. And I made so many mistakes. I grew up in a pastor's home. My grandfather was a pastor. So I thought I knew what I was doing. I had been a youth pastor for 10 years, but I made so many mistakes. People were hurt in the process because I just didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I was just sitting one day, had some spare time, and I just started jotting down mistakes I made. And I thought, Larry Osborne calls it the dumb tax. Don't pay somebody else's dumb tax. Yeah. And so I thought, well, I paid the dumb tax on all these things. Maybe I can save somebody out there a little bit of heartache if maybe they don't have to pay the same tax. So the whole reason I wrote the book was not, it sounds like I'm saying I'm so smart and you're so dumb. No, I'm saying I'm so dumb.
I did these.
Don't do what I did.
Sure. When we started the church in 2008, and you said, what year did you start pastoring in Houston area?
Oh, in Texas. That was in 1994. Okay. That was back in the late 1900s.
Okay. So when I started, you're obviously well before I did then. When I started, even in 2008, Facebook, I had just gotten a Facebook account. So you didn't watch all of the services at that point. Today you get on the internet and you can watch. We all have friends. Pastors have friends that are pastoring. They're starting churches. You steal ideas. You see what they're doing. I mean, it's a different generation for that, for sure. We didn't have that when we first started.
Right. Yeah. I think that today for pastors, for congregations, it's some ways it's harder, some ways it's easier. When early days of pastoring, your congregation didn't listen to other pastors.
Yes.
They listened to their pastor, which is great.
Yeah.
And I don't know about your congregation, but a lot of people will listen to our pastor and then another well-known pastor and another well-known pastor. And then you hear, well, you're not as good as so-and-so.
Yep.
It's like, I didn't know it was a competition.
Right.
And
right.
two, no, I'm
Yeah.
not. I
Yeah.
listen to him too.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting, Tate, about that, and I hope I don't give too much inside baseball, but sometimes we do learn from each other. And sometimes someone will preach a great sermon
Yeah.
and we'll take some ideas from that.
Sure.
And then we'll use them. And then someone will come up and say, well, I thought when so-and-so did it, it was better. I did too.
Yeah, I did too. That's where I got the idea. That's interesting you say that, because it is a different generation. Church is interesting right now because there's no shortage of information out there. There's no shortage of content. And because of that, I think some people kind of look at it and say, well, why do I need to attach myself to a church then? I mean, and part of me can see that, because why listen to me when you can listen to some of the best communicators in the world just by the snap of a finger? Why do you think church is? I mean, you've got a heart for church. I mean, you've been part of church and pastor and staff, and you've written about church. Why is the local church, or why is it that someone attends a local church important?
Right. That is such a good topic, right? Because we hear it a lot, and I think it too. And honestly, Tate, I'm 63, grew up in a pastor's home. There's hardly a sermon you're going to preach that I haven't heard some form of. But I desperately need church. I will never not be a part of the local church. And you're right, content. I remember in COVID, early in COVID, it was about content. You got to get content out there and get your YouTube channel up and get this. And that was all fine. But as you said, there's content everywhere.
Yeah.
Church was never about content. Church is about relationship. And I don't remember the number, but the number of one another's, right, in Scripture. You can't do any of the one another's sitting in your kitchen watching on a screen. And I'm fine with watching on a screen. When I was back at a church called Seacoast, we were one of the first churches in the world to stream our services video online. Okay. Life Church in Oklahoma did it, and we did it a month later.
Sure.
But there's just so much life on life, face to face. Right now, if you aren't watching this by video, Tate and I are looking at each other face to face, because there's so much just that goes back and forth without spoken word.
Yep.
You just can't. It's not that you can't follow Jesus without being a part of church. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go the extreme of this, but it's a little bit like, could you be married and never live in the same house?
Yeah.
Probably. But what a waste.
Yeah.
Like you'd miss so much.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about church. Content is important. I don't want to say it's not.
Sure.
And you rightly divide the word of God on a Sunday, and it's helpful and it feeds people, and it's important. But that relationship, that connection, that life on life, that, hey, I'm struggling, that 3 a.m. and my kid's not home yet, who do I call? That's that person that I connected with at Castleview. That's who I call.
Yeah, so good. Right before you came in today, I interviewed a new couple in our church. I got to lead them both to Christ right after our first Easter service, our first Sunday together, and baptize them. And they're growing, and we had a whole conversation about being involved in church, and it's changed them and the way they see their church, right? I mean, you've got these relationships that begin. They're in a life group on Sunday nights now. I went to it. I got to lead another couple to Christ 2.5 years ago that just started this life group. And so they're young believers, but very passionate about their faith. And so we put a couple of more mature believers in that life group so that they can look at them and go, hey, I'm not sure the answer to that. What do you think about that? And they really testified of the importance of relationship. And so I think you hit the nail on the head. It's sometimes challenging as a pastor in 2025. If you're going to compare me or every pastor in the area to the best in the world, that's going to be challenging, right? There's no question about it. But you can't have a relationship with the people that are out there too. So I think that marriage analogy is really a strong one. You grew up in a pastor's home, and your grandfather, you said, was a pastor.
Yes.
What was surprising about being a pastor? it's hard to, I was a youth pastor first, and my father was a pastor. It's hard to prepare yourself to be in the seat of the pastor. I've got a pastor friend that said once, I thought I was 15 steps, as the youth pastor, I thought I was 15 steps away from the senior pastor's office. When I became the senior pastor, I felt like I realized I was 15,000 steps away from the senior pastor's office. What's the challenge of moving into the pastorate? What did you find?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things like, just like you growing up, I had a pretty good idea of what it was like, as far as how it worked and that kind of thing. A couple of things that were surprising early on to me. My wife grew up in a home where they were very involved in their church. It was the same denomination that I grew up in, so similar. We didn't grow up in the same church, but lots of similarities. So I thought this will be very natural for her. It was not. And what people in congregations don't realize, and how could they, is the experience of the pastor's spouse is unique. And I'm not saying it's bad, it's just unique. Yeah. And in different traditions, there are different expectations. And you might say, well, there are no expectations on my spouse. And I would say, oh, ha, ha, ha.
Right.
Everyone has some expectations. Yeah. And so for my spouse, for my wife, who is amazing, it took years for her to really connect to, like, Christmas in a pastor's home is very different than Christmas. Spring break in the South, where we were when we first got married, is tied to Easter. Well, that meant our kids were on spring break the busiest week of the year for me. Yeah. And those kinds of things, that was surprising. And the other thing, and Tate, I read into this again, I just have this strange, I don't know where it came from, but I think people like me. Like, we met earlier today, and as you walked up, I thought, I think he likes me. I like him. Until I'm shown otherwise, I don't think it's arrogance. It's just, I think people like me, I guess. And a lot of times people don't like you when you're a pastor, and they like to tell you and other people they don't like you. And sometimes it's legit. Like, I have some personality quirks that when I see it reflected, I'm like, well, I probably wouldn't like me in that case. And sometimes it's totally not connected to you, right? It's a reflection of something else going on in their life. And the saying that we all use, hurt people hurt people. Yeah. And a lot of times I have to look and see what the pain, but as a pastor, that was surprising to me. Like the lady saying, now that we know you, we're going to leave. Well, that was personal. That hurt. And then just what you feel every day. Everyone feels the burden of Castleview, but no one feels it at the level you do. No one knows and it's not that you think you're only the be all to end all, and not that you don't have great leaders, all that, but at the end of the day, you feel that it's on my shoulders. And I think CEOs feel it. I think that business owners feel it, but there's a spiritual component to it that they don't necessarily feel. The weight of the congregation. And, when a marriage fails, you tell yourself, it's not my fault, but there's this other thing saying, well, if you had been a better pastor, and to fight against that kind of stuff is stuff that you don't realize till you sit in the seat you're sitting in.
Yeah, boy, that's a great answer. You said a lot there. One, it does make me think, I think that pastors go through this. I think shepherds go through this. Maybe not every person, but if you're a shepherd at all, every time somebody brings you, and this isn't complaining, it's just part of it. Every time somebody brings a burden to you, a marriage issue, a financial stress, a health, cancer, whatever that is, it takes a little piece. You're giving them just a little piece of you. I suppose if you shut that off and didn't care, that's one thing. But I don't know many pastors like that. I think pastors have that natural tendency to shepherd. And it can be draining for sure. The whole wife perspective is so good because I think that most pastors' wives have that feeling that they have to be the sum total of every pastor's wife they ever had. Well, this one played the piano, this one taught the ladies' Bible study, this one served all the food, this one did the hosting at their home, this one. And for some reason, there's that expectation of This is what you have. And I try to tell my wife a lot, listen, and she's been going through some health issues over the last several years. And I try to remind her, and I tell other young pastors too, listen, the expectation is to be your wife and to be that anchor in the home. And where's she going to serve? Where she loves to serve, right? I mean, if she loves children's ministry, let her do the children's ministry. If she loves to play the piano, let her play it. If she loves to teach, let her teach. But let it be something that they really enjoy. So I think that's a great answer. Thanks for sharing that. You are, in my estimation, I know Charles Barkley says there's no experts in the world, but in my estimation, you would be an expert, very, very knowledgeable in the sense of assimilation and in the area of discipleship. That's kind of where you live right now, isn't it? That's what you do with your church. What is this? First of all, what is assimilation? What does it mean? I'm using a word that maybe our church members wouldn't even really use that word. How would you define or describe assimilation?
That's a great question. You should have sent that to me ahead of time.
Sorry.
No.
It just came to me.
You know what came to me, though, is I have adult kids, and they're both married. And when they got married, their spouses instantly became a part of our family, right? It was done deal.
Yeah.
But over the years, they've become a part of our family. And now I don't think in terms of son-in-law and daughter-in-law. They're just my kids. And they're not an adjunct part of my family. They don't show up once in a while to events and we go, oh, welcome to our house. They don't even ring the bell, Tate. They walk in to our house as though they own it. Their kids call our house their house.
Go right to the fridge, take
and
what
I'm
they
like,
want.
I haven't seen you help with the mortgage. What is this about? But the reason is we have one family, and they have assimilated. They're still a part of their families also, but they are assimilated into our family. And right, that's what our hope is for people, is that they will not just come to a church and they'll not just attend a church, but they'll become a part of the family of the church. And because, again, it's back to that relationship thing. I can come every Sunday to Castleview. I can hear the messages. I can take notes. I can go home. But until I've assimilated, until I'm a part of that family, until I'm feeling the pain, celebrating the joy, connecting with the folks, I haven't really experienced what Castleview is. So that's why it's so important, right? It's not, sometimes it feels like the pastor needs to put another mark on the scorecard. So assimilation is how many bodies do I have stacked up? It's not that at all. I'm sure you use this phrase too. We want more for you than we want from you. And every genuine pastor I know would say that. Yeah. We know that life comes when you connect to Christ and to his body, which is manifested through the local church. So that's why we want you to assimilate, to become a part of.
What a great answer with the family and your daughter-in-laws or family members. I've never used that phrase. We want more from you, or for you rather.
Yeah. It's important not to mix that one up.
We want more for you than from you. That's a great way to put that, because I think that pastors genuinely feel that way, even though I think sometimes the view from the outside might be different. Carey Nieuwhof and others would say it like this. That a lot of pastors for a long time have viewed attendance as the metric, right? I mean, and it's a metric. I mean, you look at it. I mean, obviously you want to know, is the church growing numerically? Are we reaching new people? It's a metric. But he would say that engagement is the best metric for a healthy church. So when you describe assimilation, that's really what you're talking about then. You're talking about somebody that is not just attending, they're not just looking in from the outside, they've become part of. When you try to assimilate somebody, what are the mile markers? What are the steps? What are the things? How do you take somebody from a first, or what do you want to see them do? They come as a first-time guest, and where do we want to go with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Back to the growth thing, I agree with Carey. There was you may not have been in the church leadership world at this point, but there used to be a thing that says Healthy things grow and growing things multiply, and there's truth to that. What I always say, you know what else grows and multiplies is cancer, and so do weeds.
Yeah.
And so just because you're growing or multiplying, it doesn't mean you're healthy. It doesn't mean you're unhealthy.
Yeah.
I think about it this way. I love the way you said it. It's a measure. When I go to the doctor, he doesn't take my temperature and go 98.6. You're good. Thanks for coming in. Go. He goes, okay, let's check some other things.
Yeah.
But if it's 105 or 42, he goes, we got to jump on that. So growth does. Just attendance has a meaning. We just have to understand, what does it mean? Like we say sometimes, we could give away free cars to everybody on a weekend. We're going to have huge attendance. That doesn't mean that we're healthy. This assimilation piece, I see two things. One is there is value in a process. Can I give you a quick illustration?
Sure.
Years ago, my wife and I went to Mexico for a vacation. We love going down to the Cancun area, and we went there just a couple weeks ago, just got back. It's our first time down there, and there's a huge water park there. I think it's called Shellhaw, something like that. It's huge. And so we had a tour guide that rode on the bus with us. And then we got there, there was this map of this massive water park. And she said, you guys can go anywhere you want to, but I would recommend go here, then here, then here, then here. And once you've done that, you will have experienced this park, and then you can go back and visit what you enjoy. So we did. We had a blast. It was so much fun. So my assistant went a year later and went to the same park. And I said, how was it? And she said, it was all right. And I said, oh, what about your tour guide? Our tour guide said, get off the bus. I'll see you later. Oh. So their experience was they just wandered through this park. They didn't know what was available or not. They didn't enjoy it. So an assimilation process where we say, hey, why don't you try this and then this and then this and this? It has value because there's so much that Castleview does, and in the Christian life, especially the folks you're talking about who are newly introduced to this whole idea, it's hard to just find your way. So I believe in somewhat of a process. At the same time, we can get so processed. Way back, there was a church that said, here are the 7 steps to becoming a committed follower of Jesus, right? And they weren't wrong.
Sure.
But at the end of step 7, you could not know Jesus at all and still have done all 7 steps because it's not neat and clean. So to me, I know it's a long answer, Tate, but I think having a map is helpful. But it goes back to Castleview is not that beautiful building. That beautiful building is where Castleview meets. Castleview is the people. So assimilation, it goes back again, right, to relationship. It's when you meet somebody, when you get to know somebody, when somebody says, hey, I'm going to go to this thing at Castleview, will you go with me? That's assimilation. It's when we begin to hey, there's a life group starting up, love for you to come. It's weird. You got to show up at my house, and but would you try it? And I show up, and I meet other people, and I go, "You like the Broncos? I like the Broncos." My opinion, that's a spiritual connection that can grow. That's assimilation as much as attending the newcomer class or whatever it is. To me, it's organic, but it's also a process.
I can tell you're an author. You're a great storyteller and really good stuff. Friendship is born when somebody says, "Oh, you too?" That's kind of where friendship begins, right? Is we've got this connection, and I love that answer because I think sometimes we do feel like the church is the Sunday morning experience service, and I went to church. But it's not the building, it's even the experience. I mean, the church is the pillar and ground of truth, and you've got to have that, and all of it's important. But relationship is so important.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
Because you mentioned the word friendship. We were talking about this week, and I really hadn't thought this way. But there's friendship, which is important. We all need it. But the Bible says that in Acts 2, they devoted themselves to fellowship, this koinonia.
Yeah.
Koinonia, fellowship, begins with friendship, but you can be friends. Like Tate, you and I could, I don't know if you go, we talk about fishing. I don't fish, but I would like to. We could go fish every weekend, but not have fellowship. Fellowship is where we deeply connect our lives, where we get beyond, hey, do you think Bo Nix is going to be okay this year? Into, hey, can I talk to you about what's going on with my marriage a little bit? That's what we want for people, is to get from friendship to fellowship. We start with, hey, we want to help you get friends.
So can a staff do that? In other words, okay, we've got to assimilate these people coming into the church. And so you are the pastor of assimilation, and you are the guy that's going to organize. Can a staff do that alone? I mean, sometimes I think people walk into a church and expect somebody else to do the assimilation, to reach the people, to cause the church to grow. It's not a staff thing. It's a culture that's got to be built throughout the church. Am I wrong on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the staff has to model it. The pastor has to model it, right? If it, life groups. If a pastor says, we love life groups, but he's not in a life group, life groups don't go anywhere. If the pastor says, hey, we got to connect with each other, but the pastor never has conversations with people who are far from God, then it starts there. It starts out with the staff. Sorry to use sports analogies, but I can't wait for football. And then basketball, which is my favorite. But I was thinking about this, Sean Payton, right? Sean Payton can't win football games. He can guide, he can coach, he can lead, he can set up. But the guys on the field are the ones who have to win the football game. And so I think staff, it's true it's not a perfect analogy, none is. But I think that the staff's role is to coach, to help lower barriers, to give ideas, to create environments. But it really is all of our, not the congregation's job, because as staff, we are congregation, right? We all are. It's all our role to invite people into this life with us. The staff at my church cannot invite my next door neighbor into life with me. That would be weird. That's my job. The staff can help me figure out the right way, the right environments for that.
Yeah. What I want our church to hear is that all of us have a responsibility with this, right? To expect the staff alone to do it, you're right. That's a great point. The staff needs to. That should be part of the culture. That's what we got to do. But you're going to be pretty limited. I remember when we started the church in 2008, I was able to be the main connector of the church up until about 80 people. Once you get 80 to 100, you're kind of starting to get out of that, where, I know your name, but I don't have time for coffee for you this week, or I don't, what I mean? It just gets difficult. And so as churches grow, you've got to have people that you've created the environment, but you have to have church members that walk into the church, and they're the ones doing that connecting. Going back to assimilation, so you had mentioned it's not always clean cut. It's not always A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Are there some mile markers? Are there some attachments? Are there some keys to attaching somebody to a church, assimilating somebody into a church? Where are you trying to take a brand new attender or a new believer? Where do you want to go with them?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I've thought about that a lot. It's, how do you measure? Some people say what doesn't get measured doesn't get done, and there's a truth to that, right? So I don't have anything new, but I think that if I'm going to be assimilated into the life of a church, well, I'm going to show up at that church. And so one of the things, we go back to numbers, but if I'm never coming, am I really assimilated to that church? So I think one of the markers is, do I show up?
Attendance.
You talked about life groups. Like, I haven't been on a Sunday. I told you earlier I want to come on a Sunday. I've watched online, and it looks like something I would love to connect with and get to know a little bit. But I can show up every Sunday, but not be connected to the heartbeat of the church. And so, to me, am I showing up? Am I a part of a life group? And I'll probably go a place that maybe you wouldn't have led me, but it'll be okay. Do I give? Do I contribute? Well, it's all about money. It's not. We want more for you, and then we want from you. Generosity is a major part of what it means to follow Christ. And so if I am not generous with my resources, then I am not experiencing the life of the church. And so we don't publish it on the back wall or anything like that, but are you giving? And of course, then, water baptism, if you haven't followed in water baptism. And I know these aren't new. They're not,
Sure.
but then to me, the other factor, a marker along the way, is where am I serving? Because if I truly believe in what this church is doing, we will never hire enough people to do it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to happen because that's not what we are. We are a serving, volunteering. Why? Because that's such a part of being a Christ follower, right?
Yeah.
They will know who you are because you love each other, you serve one another. And so in that assimilation process, are you showing up? Are you giving your time, your talent, your treasure? Are you connected deeply to other people, a life group? Where do you serve? And how can we help you connect in that serving?
All good. We just started I used to do an 8-week, we called it a Castleview class, that if you were interested in joining the church, this is all about us, this is what we're looking for. We recently condensed it into 2 weeks. 8 weeks just gets hard for some people to be able to, and I thought, well, we can get the majors done. And so we've got this 2-week class. One of them is all about our faith, salvation, baptism. We talk about our history in that first class as well. The second class is very much about setting the expectations. Tom Rainer's got a book called High Expectation Churches. And I think for the longest time as a pastor, and I think most pastors probably struggle with this, and I love how you said it, we want more for you than from you. And I think we struggle sometimes with that idea that, well, everyone just thinks we want something from them. And so we set the bar so low. And so what we started doing with that class is, okay, these are the privileges of membership, but these are the obligations. These are the responsibilities. And we talk about that. We talk about, and I'll tell them, hey, here it comes. I'm going to tell you. All right. I knew you knew it was going to come. I knew at some point you're going to hear it. We expect you to give because that's part of what the New Testament teaches us to do. But we talk a lot about serving there as well. And I'll talk about the benefits of it. I mean, you get to use your spiritual gift. You get to connect. You get to be a part of a cause bigger than yourself. But you get so much from that too. And when you used the family analogy a little while ago, you might be dating somebody that's connected to your family, but you're not part of the family until you get committed, engaged, married. Now you've become part of the family. And there is something about people that have connected in that way. They're serving, they have something they're doing, they have a place to be, they've got a purpose that really does change the way it moves away from being, well, people talking to me saying, Pastor, your church is this. And they don't mean anything by it, but your church is, and I enjoy your church and your church. And all of a sudden you start hearing our church, my church. And I love that. And you start seeing a difference with somebody's engagement level. Okay, this is moving from I attend here to I belong here in this place. How can church members be a part of that assimilation process? If this podcast is going to the majority of our church, we've got a great staff. We've got people that are working hard to create experiences and to make those environments. But we need help, like you said. What would you say to somebody that's attending a church? How can they be a part of making other people welcome or become more and more assimilated?
A couple different ways, I would say, both very, very simple, not easy, but simple. Let me ask you, at Castleview, do you have designated greeters who meet people at the door, shake their hands?
Yes, sir.
Do they wear lanyards or?
Okay, we've got two different kinds. One is we've got some that do wear lanyards, that they're official. Hey, if you need to be helped by somebody, you can. We do talk to a bunch of them, though, that are not lanyard up, and I guess the reason for that is we don't want a guest just to feel like, well, that was my job. So I said hello to you, but you've got this section in the church that we want to make sure you're greeting people.
Love that. Absolutely love it. We called it guerrilla greeting.
Guerrilla greeting.
Not
okay.
monkeys.
So no lanyards. It's
no
guerrilla
lanyard.
greeting.
We have the lanyard people.
Sure.
But then I love the non-lanyard people. And what I love is you have this group that's probably trained and they're, this is your section and all that. Got to have that. Anyone in the church can be a greeter.
Yes.
And all you have to do is 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after, don't talk to anybody you know. Tell them, I love you.
Yes.
Let's go have lunch, but I'm on assignment. Yeah. I used to, Tate, one of the things I have done in my past is I used to go to churches and they'd invite me in and say, hey, come in as I hate the term, but secret shopper. And, just kind of experience what it's like to be brand new at our church. Mm-hmm. Every church I've ever been to told me, I asked them, what's great about your church? Every single one of them tell me they're friendly. Every one of them.
I knew it.
And almost every one of them, I tell them, you are friendly. You are so friendly to the people you know. Yeah. You love each other. You love talking to each other. And you have little clumps of people, and it's so fun. And I stood for 20 minutes in your lobby and just stood there just to see what would happen. Mm-hmm. And normally not one person will talk to me. Wow. And that is across the board. Yeah. And so, man, just imagine if 10 people, not 100, if 10 people said, I don't have a lanyard, I don't have a section, I could give it 5 minutes before service and whatever it is, I could give a few minutes before and after service. And the introverts right now are they're like crinkling up. Yeah. Don't do it. You'd be bad at it. You'd be awkward. The extroverts, don't be weird, okay? Yeah. But just, hey, have I met you? Yeah. No. Hey, how long have you been coming? I started the church. Fine. It's one awkward conversation. Doesn't matter. Yeah. But that's the first thing. The other thing is, and I know you guys focus on this, but you don't experience Castleview until you invite someone who's not a part of church to come with you. And then you sit in service with them. Yeah. That's when you experience Castleview. Yeah. That's when you're praying like, oh, please let Tate not talk about money today. Please let, God speak. And you're talking about assimilation. Mm-hmm. When I invited my friend, my coworker, my neighbor, and they come with me, and then I go to coffee or lunch with them afterwards, and we talk, and then they begin to be connected to that church, that's the best assimilation. Like that goes beyond any program, any lanyard, anything else you do. And you love that. I call myself a bullpen speaker, which means I don't start. I come in from the bullpen, not usually during a service, but when the main guy's not speaking. Sure. And so I had a guy, and you have the little microphone that you wear, and sometimes I forget to take it off, and so I had it on between services. Guy comes up to me and says, "You speaking today?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." I can see that look of disappointment on his face. And he goes, "Okay, you see that dude over there getting coffee?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I've been asking him for 6 months to come, and he came today. Wow. Don't blow it." Oh, no. It was awesome. Wow. It was you live for that, right? You live for that.
That's great.
That experience as a congregant of your neighbor, your coworker, your friend, I've experienced with some of our family that had kind of walked away from Christ and invited them, and now they're a part of my church, and I sit with them on Sundays, and that to me is the healthiest kind of assimilation.
It changes the way you sit in a service.
Totally.
You're praying. I've said that. You just said it exactly how instead of critiquing a sermon or checking out, you're praying for that preacher. Come on, Lord, help him right now. Help him. My friend needs this. I mean, you're so engaged in a different way. Right. We don't, some churches I'm sure still do this. We don't anymore, but I was at a church as a youth pastor in North Carolina, and you're in the South, and it was very common at that time, this would have been the late 90s, that we would single out all of the guests, and hey, if you're a guest with us, stand up. And of course, now people don't really want to do that as much. And some churches do, and it's wonderful. It may be their culture and works out for them. We stopped. But But then the other thing they would do is I remember we heard about that, I think around 1999, and they decided not to do that. Let's have the guests stay seated and everyone else stand up around them. And now you got all these rear ends around, in your face.
That happened to me at a church in North Carolina.
Is that right? You may have come to our church.
And then they turned around and sang at me.
Yes.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, okay. So, so obviously we don't do that. We want everyone to feel welcome in the church. I think that one thing we do say, and I don't know where I heard this, but people are not looking for a friendly church. People are looking for friends.
So good.
And that's such a difference, right? Good. Because in North Carolina, and sometimes it happens here too, you said it, we're very friendly. Yeah, to the people you're very friendly. And you might be really good even for 90 seconds before the sermon starts to say hello to somebody. As soon as the service ends, hey, friends, where are you? Let's go grab a bite to eat. Or, hey, where are my friends? Let's go talk a little bit. And I love what you said, just for people to get there a little early. And I'm not coming to get something necessarily today. I want to come give something at church today. And I think that changes the way you see your church and experience it. So it's like sometimes I'll go to an activity. And as a pastor, at times there's a little bit of let me have a funny thing to say. Let me have, and years ago I started going, you know what? I don't want to walk in and try to take over a space. Let me walk in and quietly find somebody that doesn't have anyone to talk to and just go sit down with them. And what I started noticing is I would leave not disappointed because somebody didn't give me attention. I would actually get so much more out of that setting because I came in actually to be a blessing and a help. And I think that changes church for people too. You came in with the idea that I'm going to give something. I did not come here to get something in this environment today.
Yeah. I heard about a conversation recently. There's a way that we do some of our teaching that some people don't connect with, right? And so the lady was complaining and saying, I just don't connect with that. I don't like that. And another lady in the church said, I totally understand. Like we went to a church before that did that kind of teaching as well. And man, I didn't like it. I didn't connect with it. And then it occurred to me, it's not always about me. I thought for me, such a reminder, because my role, I'm paid on staff to pick apart what we do and try to do it as well as we can. But sometimes I have to step back and go, you know what? It's really not about me.
Are you telling me that church members can have preferences?
We all have preferences, right?
Yes,
it's just
I do.
The higher you go up the chain, the more they must be right because you can
do something about it.
Yeah,
sometimes.
You can do something about it, right?
Right. Yeah. Wow. I think that's probably a huge key too. Is okay, you're a church member with preferences, and there's hundreds of other people that have preferences too, right? My preference is my music's going to be more conservative. Well, there's hundreds of others that say I want it to be less. There's so many people there, and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. I think that a committed church member does say, listen, church is not all about my preferences. There are some things I'm looking for, and I need to have these things because this is just how my conscience was built, or this is how I see it. But there's also some things I can say, you know what, it's okay. We can do that differently than I'm doing it, and I'm actually going to just be a support in this, even though it might not even be my favorite.
I think of it, my favorite role in life now is grandfather. I have 4 grandkids, all in Castle Rock. And like for my birthday, we have all the kids over. And my wife says, what do you want to do for your birthday? I said, well, I want to grill some hamburgers and hot dogs, and I want to play games out back in the yard. Well, I don't want to do that. I'm an old man. I want to sit and watch football, right? But the grandkids love it.
Yeah.
Well, as a grandfather, I would much rather see the grandkids have a blast than whatever I'd want to do on my birthday.
Yeah.
I see church like that as we mature. As we mature, I think as Christ followers, there's a point where we go, it's got to be theologically correct. It's got to be biblically based. I'm not doing that.
Yes.
But there are ways of teaching. There are songs that I don't like. Like, I love hymns. Like, if it were up to me, we'd do 3 hymns and a Brandon Lake song. Like, that would be my, and we don't.
Yeah.
Because you know what, Tate? It's really not about me. And so I think as we mature, in all the things we're talking about, not just pastors and staff, but all of us, to step back and go, you know what? I'm a little more mature in my faith. I can put up with some things that It's not my favorite,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
That is such a great. We had it was the beginning of COVID. We had come back into our first public setting, and we sang a song that day that was a little bit out of our church's norm. And there's an older man in the church, Dr. Larry Hedquist. He's been teaching one of our classes for years. He's got the senior saints, just one of our deacons for years. Wonderful, spirit-filled man that's got a lot of maturity, been a Bible professor. I mean, just a lot of background to him. And there was a little bit of a kerfuffle over that song that we had sung. And he was one of the deacons at the time. And I called him and I said, Doc, hey, what did you think about that song that we just sang? And he said, Pastor, he said, when we first started singing it, I thought to myself, this is not my favorite. This doesn't really seem like, this is not my favorite. And he said, as we started singing, though, I realized, are the words doctrinally correct? Is there anything that's anti-Bible in this? Can I honor Christ through this? And he said, I started checking those boxes in my mind. And so by the time we got to the end of it, I was singing because I thought, what, there's nothing wrong. And I thought, Geoff, that is such maturity to say, what, I know we've not done it like that, but it's not that it's wrong to do it that way. It might even be outside of my preference to do it that way, but maturity said, what, I'm okay here.
So good.
Yeah. You've been really helpful. Thank you so much for having a conversation with me today. I'd love to have you back again sometime. Your insight's been really, really encouraging. And thank you for what you're doing here in this area for the cause of Christ. And we're excited for any church in our area that is gospel driven. Hey, we want to give Jesus and we want to teach as many people about who Jesus is and point them to Christ as much as they can. So thank you for taking a minute with us. Anything you want to add today? Anything that I haven't asked about that you wanted to say?
No, thank you so much. It's, as I said at the beginning, honored that you would invite me here. I love the little bit that I know what God is doing at Castleview Baptist. I love it. And just like you, Tate, you've been here 17 years.
Yes, sir.
I've been, here for 13, but then 12, 25 years of my life. Mm. And there's so many people in Colorado who are facing eternity without Jesus. Mm. And it breaks my heart. Yeah. And that we can have a church like Castleview that cares deeply about seeing people connect to Christ, come back to Christ is huge. So thank you for what you guys do. And thank you to your staff, to your congregation. I love it. I'm a fan. So thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Geoff. Honored to have you on today. And Castleview, thank you for watching today. I've read his books now for a number of years, and just very interesting to be able to sit down with him. I thought that was super encouraging and helpful. And church, let me just encourage you too. Every one of us has a place to serve in the body. And maybe you've got a role. It may be a teacher of a life group. It may be in children's ministry. And you might even be sitting here listening right now saying, you know what, I don't. But every person can take the initiative to find people they can encourage, to find people they can help assimilate. Every one of you have networks, people, friends that you can invite out to the church. We want to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus, and you're part of that. And so thank you for watching this today. And if we can help you in any way this week, holler at us, let us know, and we're praying for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you again next week.